Welcome to the LaunchPreneur Experience Legal Edition. My name is Fernanda Furman, your host. I'm a summit and launch strategist and also an international speaker. And today I am so excited to be interviewing Wani. We have been chatting, before we got started in here, and it's such a pleasure to meet you and to have you joining us, Wani. And I would love for you to share with the audience. You are an attorney, a TEDx international speaker, a global consultant, 3 times bestseller author. Would you please give us a little bit of introduction of who you are?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, thank you so much for actually having me, and welcome to everybody to the summit. So those are my titles, but in terms of who I really am, I am just someone who's actually living the life that I really want. I have taken a conventional field of law and actually made it into unconventional in terms of like how I live my life. I am recording this with you from Paris, France, which is where I live. I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years. October's going to make it 20 years. I've been practicing exclusively, corporate business law. But I've also, I'm in a transformational business in terms of like where I'm on a spiritual path, a path of learning and growth. And so I've got both foot, firmly planted in both worlds of spirituality, inspiration, which is my brand, personal development, growth, impact, as well as money, intellectual property, business, stocks and bonds, all of those and all that jazz.
Amazing. Yeah. And if you want to know more about her, all of her links are going to be on the action planner that you're going to have access to. So make sure you connect with her, you follow her to learn more about what she has been doing. And what I love about what her topic for this interview is protecting your brand and content with trademarks and copyrights. And before we talked, we were talking offline, and she actually brought up some points that I never thought about copywriting. And when we think about copywriting, the first thing that I think about is something that I did online that somebody stole from me, right? And when I would love for you to expand on that concept, that it goes beyond just somebody stealing your copy online, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah. So let's, looking at the whole umbrella of intellectual property, right? So it's typically, or, not typically, it is, you have a trademark, which you're looking at your brand name. This is how when people think of, Fernanda, like who you are, right? What your trade dress, like your colors, like your taglines, and like, what your brand name actually is, right? For example, say Apple. Then you have your copyright, which looks at your actual content. That could be like your social media posts. That could be your books that you write. If you write songs, if you write poetry, if you take photographs, if you take videos, like whatever, like this artistic, this literary that's coming out of you, that's all of your copyright. Then you have your patent, which is like your inventions and things like that, which is not really more for this audience. So we're looking at both of those two things, right? Your trademark and copyright. Now, I want to let people know that most of the time when people look at these two things, they look at it from a protectionist point of view, rather in terms of like, I don't want people stealing my things. And so as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you need to be looking at it you need to have a mindset shift. Number one, not just to protect what you're doing, but to also monetize it, right? All of us are in businesses, when you're in business, you're building your brand. You have to. The fact that you're a content creator, every single day you're waking up, you're putting a post out there, you're putting a call to action, you're trying to create impact, you're a content creator. So therefore, you need to be looking at monetizing and packaging your content and not just like putting it out there and letting people actually have access to without having any kind of repercussions to it. So therefore, is that, from the very, very beginning, before we even look at, say, for example, registering your trademark or registering your copyright, you need to look at actually protecting it beforehand. Number one, these are like your very, when you're looking at like your secret sauce, right? Your content, like your genius zones, right? Those things need to be closely held guarded, okay? Yes, you're putting it out there because we're in the content business, we're in the information business, But you have to start looking at, okay, how do I protect it from the very beginning? Because if you're building a business, a sustainable business, you're looking, and that's all part of your business valuation, right? It's not just about like how much money is coming in, how many one-to-one clients you actually have, or how many people in your membership site. It's like, no. It's like, how can you actually monetize your thought process? It's like your content, like your visuals, all those different things, right? So therefore, start looking at who are you when you're disclosing those things to people, right? Are they in close proximity to you, right? And so looking at NDAs from the very beginning, everyone should be signing an NDA. The people you work with, your VA, the people, your contractors, your JV partners, everyone and anyone that you would even murmur about your process, about your strategy, about your intention, needs to sign an NDA. You have that in place, and then with every single contract, when you have that in place, it should always have an IP clause in there. That's the first step. And then from there, you then want to go to an attorney and then have them register your trademark and register your content.
Mm-hmm. So when we were talking about having this overall, like the bird's eye view, right? Mm-hmm. As you're saying, you need to protect yourself, you need to protect your content online. What is the timeline? Like, when is the best time for us to do that? Because for so many of us, we're still in the process of figuring out what we're doing, where we want to go, the direction. A lot of coaches, the new coaches out there that are coming in from, 2020 that wanted to be online, they are still developing their idea. They're going to be profiting their gifts. When is the best time for us to start protecting our IP or creating, or in our copywriting and trademarking?
So the first thing I would say is disconnect from the shiny object syndrome, right? Because what I see, I've been in business for myself for 14 years. So I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been legally advising companies, right? What I see online, number one, people are not being taught how to actually have a business. They're being taught how to manifest money. Those are entirely two different things. I mean, now it's like, $1 million months or six-figure a month. It's like, that's not sustainable, right? First of all. And so when you start to have a business, you think about like, what is your name? Like, how do you want to be remembered by, right? Think Coca-Cola, right? 40, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, like, what name do you want to be named as, right? And whatever that comes to, with my interaction with clients and just like people in general, is like, people know what that really is, right? The monkey mind and all this, like, the shiny object comes with like the name of courses, right? So whatever your brand is, if you get that download from Spirit, right? The first thing you want to do is, number one, make sure you can actually register the company in that same name, because there's no point in actually registering a company's name as an LLC, as a C Corp, as an S Corp, whatever corporation you actually want, if you can't trademark it, right? So registering a company does not give you ownership over the name. A trademark does, right? So first thing is, like, you want to make sure, okay, is a name trademarkable? If it's available, do a trademark search on it and see, okay, if it is available. If it is, then you want to go ahead and actually register the name. Then, of course, you want to buy the domain, because from a business perspective, from a business to consumer perspective, it's much better if, like, for example, one of my business name is Where Inspiration Meets Law. I bought the domain Inspiration Meets Law because it's good. It's all part of my branding. I wouldn't go and have something completely different from that, because people would not make the connection to me, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to have that. That's all part of your business portfolio. And so from the very, very beginning, I always tell people, if you know that you're never, ever going to change that name, you want to go ahead and start trademarking it right away. Now, when it comes to your copyrights, your content, right? Now, first, I just want to let people know that copywriting is the cheapest way. This is the cheapest way to actually protect your intellectual property. The minimal fee is $65 if you don't go through an attorney, which I don't recommend, because this is a very nuanced area of the law. You actually want to pay an attorney to actually do it, right?
Mhm.
So for example, what can you copyright? You can copyright a social media post. You can copyright your books. You can copyright your courses. You can copyright your certifications. You can copyright your photographs. You can copyright your videos. I always say, like, the threshold is, would you be pissed off if someone actually ripped it off? And if the answer is yes, then you actually should be copywriting it with the national, with the federal copyright. Now, with copyright, you can actually update it, right? So, for example, I have a lot of clients right now who are doing certification programs, and they know better because they have me as a lawyer. They never ever publish anything first without giving it to me to copyright. Before they put anything out, before they launch anything, they send it to me, we register it, and then they launch it. That should be your protocol for your business, for anything. With your social media posts, you can literally have your VA copy and paste all of your posts from Trello, from Asana, from whatever, and put in a Word document and copyright that. Because a lot of posts what's happening now in the industry, a lot of Instagram posts are being ripped off and caught and plagiarized.
Yes, that's so true. And the one thing is, and that happened to me where, I just use a little C, and I thought that copywriting is just because I put it out there on the internet and I put the copywriting protected, it was protected, which, I found out that was not. Is that even against the law to do that, to say something is copyrighted when it's not?
Well, here's the thing, and it's not against, it's the fact, okay, the definition of copyright is that once you publish something, right, you make a post and you hit publish, you do have copyright protection. It's your copyright. You can't put the CC at the end of it, right? That's great. You can put that on all the materials. However, if you want to sue someone for copyright infringement, legally in the United States of America, you have to actually have a federal registration. So yes, if you don't have that, you can't go to court for that.
That makes sense.
That's the only issue. But yes, I mean, you can right now, this is your copyright because this is your recording. It's yours. You can, when you publish it, you can put the CC for that Furman on there, and it's yours. But like I said, if I wanted to clone it and say, this is my video and my thing, and you discover it, you want to sue me for, you can't, unless you actually copyrighted it with the Copyright Office.
Okay, that makes sense.
Important. Yeah.
So what about selling? When does copywriting and trademark coming into place when you are actually building a brand to sell?
Well, I mean, it comes from the brand, first of all, in order for to get a trademark, you have to be selling with it, right? I mean, you have to be using interstate commerce. You can't just get a trademark and hold it for yourself and keep it private, right? So at the very moment, when you start publishing, for example, when an application is filed, and you can either file it under two ways. One, you can file, I'm already using it, or I intend to actually use it. If meaning you haven't done anything with it, but you have an intention to actually, to sell with that brand. If it's a case where you already are using it, you have to provide 2 dates. The first date is the first time you ever use that mark in the world, just for anything, right? And the second that you have to provide is the date that you actually begin to sell with it. So the very minute, and what typically happens when you get something idea, you make a Facebook post about it. If you have a call to action, asking people to buy from you, to sign up for your program, you're selling it. That's actually how it works. But I was saying to you, for me, when I started the template business, when I got the download and I did all the legal stuff beforehand, I went to GoDaddy to see whether the domain was available. It was. I went to the state of Florida to see whether the name was available to register. It was. I mean, I first went to the trademark office and to see whether I could trademark, and it was. Then I went to the domain. Then I went to and registered the company. I did all of that first, and then 4 months later, I took 4 months to draft the contracts. And then at the fourth, and then in 4 months later, I began to sell it, but all the legal stuff was done beforehand. A very good example of this is actually Sarah Blakely. the owner of Spanx, the billionaire. If you follow her story, for a whole year, she was going through the whole Spanx, the whole IP, and then she released it. But from the very, very beginning, she did the whole legal stuff beforehand. It was all with the name Spanx, the patent for all of that before she even mentioned a word about it.
That makes sense. And also licensing, right? You're talking about how you want to license your programs and you want to sell, and scale your business and with licensing. Can you expand a little bit on that topic?
Sure, which is license is actually one of my favorite topics to actually talk about, because again, I find like in the online space, it's a very much of a protectionist point of view when it comes to like content and business intellectual property, right? Which is great. Yes, the whole point is, when you have a trademark or a copyright, when you have these registrations, it does give you exclusivity or it gives you monopoly over everything, right? But that's just like step one. As your overall business strategy, you should be looking at, okay, how can I, number one, make this a revenue amplifier for myself, meaning you want to like increase your income. And the second thing is, if you want to sell the business, so you don't just like kind of stop doing it, you can still sell it, but then still keep the residual income. You do that by actually licensing that. Like, for example, Apple has like over like 100 registered trademarks. And from that, they license, like, for example, you go to IKEA, you can get like one of these, what do you call it? The charge your iPhone. Yeah, the things, right? It's through a licensing agreement, right? And so you get to keep the royalties from that, and it's just like, it's like the easiest money to be made that entrepreneurs like never think about, because everyone is so focused on the doing of the income and not like, okay, how can I actually like, be like a silent business owner and have different type of income into the business, right? It's just a fantastic way. A lot of people want to go into corporates. They want to sell to corporates, they want to because corporates, corporations pay a ton of money for like consultants, for coaches, for content creators. It's like, you never want to be talking to a corporation without having your IP in place. So number one, this is the audience, right? You're putting out content, you're blogging. So if you want to have a consulting agreement, you never want to go into say, let me do an assessment for a corporation, give them your assessment and not have anything licensed at all. Because if you go into a corporation like a fantastic product for them, they're going to want to hire you and buy your product. And if you don't have the IP to, you're screwed. I can say, like, I've done so many like M&A acquisitions and sales of businesses, and the number one deal breaker is who owns the IP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that route. I was still in that part where you're mentioning, like, we're so focused on making the money and growing and hiring that the scaling was not even something on that, the way, the licensing was something that was not even, in my thoughts yet. But as you're mentioning, as if you have been in business for 2 years or 3 years, and some of you guys are just starting out, those are the things we need to have in place, because we do live in this wild jungle out there where a lot of people don't have ideas and they're just trying to go everywhere. They sign up for your programs, or they sign up for your free workshops or for your free events so they can come and get ideas and copy what you're doing, and you don't have protection. And seeing this as an investment, as part of doing business, instead of this is cost too much.
No, and speaking, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when it comes to legal, entrepreneurs in the online business world needs to make a mindset shift. I always say, when a corporation opens up a business, before they put up I'm opening for business sign, that CEO, the first person they come and see is myself, an attorney, to say, okay, I'm going to open this business. What I need to do, number one, to be in the right business structure, and two, not to get sued. The next person I'm going to go and see is a CPA. It's to make sure they're in the right tax bracket to make as much money as they want and to keep it legally, right? Mm-hmm. Before they put up, hey, I'm open for business. And they see lawyers and law firms as an integral part of their business success. And so they always will have money to pay us. And for them, they don't think of us as it's an investment. It's like, it's part of the business. Whereas entrepreneurs, there are solopreneurs think that, it's a cost, right? And they do a lot of DIYs. They go online, they download these like generic contracts, or they make up their own, and they wait, and they never look to come to see a lawyer until, shit hits the fan and things go wrong. And guess what? The money you were trying to save at the very, very beginning, you're going to pay a lot more at the very end, because you're trying to, cut the costs. And so, the quicker you can get a lawyer involved in your business from the very, very beginning of your business, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So there's, when I was doing architecture, I opened a business, and I was part of my, my copy was actually talking about the software that I use to train the architects. And the company who makes that software actually sent me a letter, a cease and desist, which was the worst feeling. It was on a Friday, and then you don't even have time to connect with anybody on that. You have to wait the whole weekend thinking you're getting sued. That I had to give up on the name of my business. I had already the website all built. I had so much work done in the back end, and I had to give up on that name and just give up on everything. And to me, I knew this was a big, large corporation that's international, all over the world. I don't have the energy, the time, and to hire a lawyer to fight with them. It was not even, to me, it would cost more than the money I had already invested. Yeah. That was the biggest lesson before, and to me, that stress, I remember that weekend was like the worst weekend, because I was just like internalizing, did I do anything wrong? What did I do? I didn't even know exactly what I have done until I was able to talk to their lawyers, like email, and they said what it was. And I told somebody that I was going to ask them to pay me for what I have already spent. And somebody said, don't do that. That's going to look like extortion. And I'm like, what? So I cannot be? No, you can't request that. And of course, this is like, you go to Google and you go to forums and you're talking to people that are not even lawyers, and they don't even know the whole problem. And they're giving you advice.
Yeah.
So I just let go. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to let go. My peace of mind is worth more than this. I only spend like $4,000 or $5,000. This is like not much. I just walked away, and I had to rebuild my brand back then. That was a lesson learned. So
like that, yeah.
One of the things that we see a lot also, a lot of the coaches, what we do is we do live events. It could be summits, it could be 5-day challenges, it could be workshops. And some of the things that I see on my back end when I'm building the funnels for them is that they do not, or I'm rebuilding like that footer that says, this is not part of Facebook. Because if you're hosting an event inside of Facebook, you need to use a disclaimer to say that this is not part of Facebook. And it's very interesting, because I have seen events that are not hosted on Facebook, but they still have, this is not part of Facebook, because the coach is actually coaching that program she's selling inside of Facebook. Mm-hmm. So that disclaimer on the bottom, with the term and conditions and the privacy, it's something that I see a lot of people just letting it go with the signing up for emails as well. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you see as a problem that you're, helping a lot of your clients with, or that's just something minor?
No, it's not something that's minor at all. Social media is very much part of our business lives, and your entire like legal infrastructure needs to include, the legal documents you would have on your website, which would be your privacy policy, needs to be GDPR compliant, no matter where you live, even though GDPR is a European regulation. It needs to have a terms and conditions. It needs to have a disclaimer as well as a cookies policy. You still need to, because everyone's using Facebook as part of the business strategy or as part of their marketing, right? So regardless of whether you are hosting an event through Facebook, the fact is like 99.9% of people are going to be coming to you are coming to you through Facebook, right? And so therefore you need to make it known that your event has nothing to actually do with them. And I will also say too, because these days for a lot of, unless you're a product-based business, if you are a service-based business, like as a coach, everyone is they're hosting everything in Facebook. They're having a Facebook groups on Facebook. They're having a business page. Everyone's selling from that. And so the legal documents you would have on your website, be it the privacy policy, the disclaimers and the terms and conditions, those needs to be actually in your Facebook group. Because people need to know that, wherever you are targeting to get your ideal clients, your legal presence needs to be actually felt. So if you have a mastermind, if it's in a Facebook group, like put in your guide section, like this is actually like my, terms and conditions for my website, which also applies to here. And even there, you need to be putting there, again, it's not part of Facebook. You're just, you're just renting the space, so to speak.
That's interesting. Because that's a new thing to me. I didn't know, like I host a lot of events for my clients on Facebook, and I have never seen one of them having like this on the guides to say this is our legal, privacy or our terms and conditions, which I now understand and see the importance of having that, because it just doesn't, when you have that in place, easy for people to see, it actually doesn't leave that open, like miscommunication where I could not find it or I didn't know about it, because it's been there, as you're saying, it follows you everywhere you are on social media. So this is actually it's an awakening moment for me, because I have never seen somebody doing it.
Yeah.
I never even suggested that to any of my clients because I didn't know that was important.
It is, and it's more of a CYA type thing, because like I said, a lot of people at this point, websites are like abandoned properties, right? In terms of if you were in real estate, because everyone's doing everything from social media. Everyone's it's their marketing tool, it's their selling tool. It's just quite easy. You can roll out of bed and have a business and just like put up a Facebook page. So at the same time, it's like in order to protect yourself, it's like, for example, if you had a website that had those legal documents on it and you did nothing on that website, and everything you did 1,000% of your marketing strategy, your hosting of your events, the hosting of your masterminds, your freebies, your masterclass was on Facebook, and there was a dispute with the client, and you say, what's on my website? That client's like, no, they're not obligated to go to your website because they came to you because 1,000% of your efforts in your marketing came from Facebook. So why would you expect them to go to your website that's been like this, a vacant building, and to look at because everything you're doing to them is on Facebook, or if it's on Instagram, whatever the platform is that you're using, your legal presence and infrastructure needs to be placed on there as well too.
Amazing. Just like mind blowing, because this is, to me, it's like the highlight of this interview. For me, it was that's like amazing. And that's why we wanted to have legal protection. We need to have somebody that's looking, out for you, somebody that already has years of experience and knows. And we learn by doing the wrong things, right? So you do something like, and you have seen so many wrong doing that's where you come up with your solutions, because you have seen every time there's something wrong, somebody comes to you, you have that knowledge that helps us avoid those problems in the future. And I love that, because even with the cookies settings, I didn't even know that was important to have. And people are usually worried about pixels collecting the information, but they're not really focused on cookies. And that is another thing too that we just started implementing, because a lot of people would say, oh no, I don't want to invest, pay monthly for the service that it installs the cookies on the website or where people come. So I love everything you shared, and you are a wealth of information. You're so amazing. I love, the way that you approach business, the legal part of the business, not just by the legalities of it, but also the spirituality side of it and the business side of it, not just the legal, the laws, not just the written laws, but actually how that expands into different areas of our life and business. So that was very, very good to know. And I appreciate everything you share. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I would just say I'm glad you brought up the spiritual aspect of it, because we're and I want people to know this, because the audience is people that's spiritual or in personal development is this. There's so many, because I'm in this space as well too, and everyone is forgetting these basic things for business, right? Because we can see there's so much growth in terms of coaching and the lifestyles it allows people to actually have. But I just want people to know, like, I don't care what business you actually are running, like, it needs a foundation from it, right? From a spiritual element, the universe, God, grace, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to send you a boatload of clients if legally you're not prepared to actually handle those people. All right. So those things are very, very important, right? And I know there's such this like conversation of masculine versus feminine. And it's like, listen, the container, in order to hold the abundance, in order to hold the wealth, needs to be fully anchored and supported. It can't be wobbly. So which means it's making sure you set up in a corporation, like you actually have a legal vehicle, right? A business bank account, the right tax structure, the contracts, the IP. It's like all of those things helps to support you and to help the business flow. So when you don't have that basic foundation from an energetic standpoint and from a legal standpoint, it's like you're building a house in quicksand.
Yes.
It's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable. And the people that you see in the industry who's killing it, who's making the 7 figures, they're making this huge income claims, they have it. They do. There's no someone like I work with a lot of them.
Yes. And because I feel like it goes both ways. So when I'm manifesting and praying, for 20 clients, well, I don't have the container to serve 20 clients a month. So the same way that works for me, it works. There's somebody else looking out for those clients as well to say, you're going to get into that business. You are not going to be served well because that person cannot sustain 20 clients a month the way they are operating. They need to grow spiritually and their mindset, in their back end and their support, and even time in business. Because as time goes by in business, you learn how to deal with situations like, disagreements. I thought you said that. I thought you said that. Well, you're delivering this to me. Well, then you learn how to become a better communicator, but that comes with time. And that's what I see as well. I appreciate you bringing that up, because a lot of the coaches that I have been talking to, a lot of the people that are hiring coaches, because if we are in this industry, we are always going to be hiring. As coaches, you're always going to be hiring another coach that's one step above you that can help you get to where you want to be. And hiring a coach right now in the industry has been the biggest, challenge because of this growth where you're not even legally protected, or, you just open up yourself to so much trouble that, you might get 20 clients, but can you handle it? Are you legally protected that if those clients that are not being handled correctly, they're going to sue you? Or they're just going to say, I'm entitled to copy all your course because I heard that before too. I'm entitled to copy her course because she was not able to deliver, and to make my money and time worth, I'm able to, I'm entitled to download all of her course and keep it to watch whenever I want, even though I want to cancel my program, I want to cancel my 12-month contract in 2 months.
Wow.
And I was like, and why do you think you're entitled? Right. And she's like, well, because she can't deliver. And how do you know she can't deliver? You only gave her 2 months. Right. So, and how do you protect yourself as a coach from somebody to coming? downloading everything, feeling entitled, and then moving forward. That has to be, a support you have to get from an attorney. Nobody on Facebook, oh, that happened to me, let me give you my contract. Doesn't work like that. You need to have somebody that, like you, understands business, understands the coaching industry, because that's another thing. Getting a lawyer that never even heard what a coaching is or how we operate doesn't work.
Exactly.
It's not your job to educate them how the coaching industry works. Right? So hiring somebody like an attorney like Wani that it's a business owner, it's a coach, has been in the coaching industry, understand the in and outs and what goes right and wrong. That's the key.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So would you like to share with the audience what your free gift is?
Oh my God, yeah. Speaking of like mistakes, and so I have compiled what I call it's the top 62 mistakes that I have seen people or coaches making online. You're coaching your online business that will actually cause you to lose money, lose clients, get sued, and get shut down. And it's what you should not be actually doing. And so I literally wrote down, because I was having so many people come through my inbox asking about refunds, right? And asking me how can I get the refunds back. And so I would go through certain things with them. Okay, yes, you can get it back, but you can't. And I mean, it was just, so it's a really, really great guide in terms of how you should be running your business, things you should be doing from, from contract drafting in terms of what needs to be in your contract, to contract executions, to making sure you're licensed correctly and we should be seeing your marketing and everything like that. So it's a really, really great source for you to actually need to have for your business.
That's a must-have, not to do a checklist.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking, with you and interviewing you. And you're in the audience. I encourage you to chat with Wani on the group. She's going to be there. She's going to be answering questions. If you have any, burning questions, just go on the Facebook group and tag Wani, create a post, ask the question and tag her so she can answer those questions for you, and also follow her on social media so you can learn more and how to become, a holistic business owner that it's thinking about everything from the beginning, spiritual and business and legal part of it as well. So again, thank you so much, Wani. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.